Guys, I hope you remember the portion from where we left off. If you have not understood it, guys, it will be very difficult to understand this portion also. So I would recommend you guys to go through the previous video to understand the continuation. So we broke off in the main topic of what it was. It was a combination of errors, and we dealt with propagation of errors, right? And we completed 3 subtopics of it, that is sum, addition, that is addition, subtraction and multiplication. What happens with the errors when you are taking 3 measurements or taking measurements and you add those measurements? What will be the error? When you subtract the errors or subtract the measurements, what will be the end results error? Similarly, if you have 2 measurements, you multiply them, what will be the end results error? Right, so now we'll be dealing with, if you divide 2 numbers and you get a result, right? Or you can say that is quotient. So what will be the error in that quotient? So let's say, just like the previous case, Z is a quotient which you get by dividing 2 numbers A and B. Just like the previous section, there will be, but true value is this one, but what you get is a measured value, right? So Zm is equal to Am by Bm. Now any measured value is equal to true value plus or minus an error. So similarly, Bm can be also as true value of B plus or minus delta B. This is absolute errors, delta A and delta B. Similarly, Zm is equal to true value of Z plus or minus delta Z. Clear? Now what we are going to do is, you are asked to find what is Zm, that is Am by Bm. So I am going to substitute Am and Bm's value here. So that Zm is Z plus delta Z. So Z plus delta Z plus or minus is equal to Am. I am going to substitute just like the previous case, guys. Divided by, in place of Bm, I am going to write B plus or minus delta B. Clear? Right. Now here, A plus or minus, here you are doing an extra job, guys. I am going to remove A from here. So it will be 1, right? Remove A from both of these guys means A1 plus or minus delta A by A. See, when I multiply A into it, it becomes A plus A into delta A by A means A cancels, you get the numerator same itself. Similarly, I am going to remove B from here, so it becomes plus or minus delta B by B. Clear? Right. Now what is A by B? You just wrote it as true value Z. So I will write this as Z 1 plus or minus delta A by A whole divided by 1 plus or minus delta B by B. Right. Now you have to understand there is a section which you will learn in maths that is known as binomial theorem. Binomial theorem. This is not a section where I will teach it what binomial theorem is, guys, which you will learn in the 11th itself, but in maths. So biology kids, just understand there is a formula section where, see, if you are having a very small value, right? Suppose you are having 1 plus x raised to n, where n's value is very less than 0, there is a negative values. You have a function of writing this 1 plus x raised to n can be written as 1 plus n into x by 1 factorial, etc. You will understand. I'll just tell you what is the formula has to be, because this is something that's a very big chapter, right? You just understand the formula. And then the next term is n minus 1 into n divided by 2 factorial. So 2 factorial, etc. you will learn later on. But suppose n factorial is 1 into 2 into goes on till n. So 2 factorial will be 1 into 2. 3 factorial will be 1 into 2 into 3. 6 factorial will be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5 into 6 till 6. Like that, just gave you an idea of what you are writing this factorial meaning. So next term will be n into n minus 1 into n minus 2 divided by 3 factorial into x cube. It goes on, right? Now here, see, this term n, let's compare with this term, that is 1 plus delta x A by A, and then this one 1 plus or minus delta b by b. Okay, so I'm just going to take one term, guys, which is denominator section. Can't I write this entire section as 1 plus or minus delta a by a into 1 plus or minus delta b by b raised to minus 1? It goes up, right? So this function is just like this one, 1 plus or minus, let's say, right? And this x is delta b by b, right? And in nth place it is minus 1, right? So there is only one term, so you have to stop with one term, 1, so you will stop with 1, right? So when you substitute this value, means the equation stops till here. So let's say z1 plus or minus delta a by a, right, 1, right? What should come here? Plus, right? Let's say plus or minus like this, n into x, right? What is here? N value, minus value, right? Minus 1 into x. What is x here? Delta b by b, right? Divided by 1 factorial. 1 factorial is 1 into, that's it, nothing. 2 factorial is 1 into 2, right? So last term is 1 itself. So 1 factorial's value is 1. Stop, over. So when I multiply, see what happens to this equation? 1 plus or minus delta a by a, then minus 1 into 1, sorry, plus is minus, minus into minus is plus, so it becomes like this, right? Clear? Now I just reversed, minus is written over here and plus written below, doesn't make any difference, right? So I can write it like this itself, delta a by a, 1 plus or minus delta b by b. Clear? Right, so what was in the LHS side was z plus or minus delta z. Right, now what I am going to do is LHS and RHS I am going to divide throughout by z. So it becomes z plus or minus delta z by z is equal to z by z, 1 plus or minus delta a by a, sorry guys, 1 plus or minus delta b by b. Now this z cancels off, z by z is 1, right? So 1 plus delta z by z is equal to 1 plus delta a by a into 1 plus or minus delta b by b. Now I'm going to bring the brackets, right? I'm going to solve this bracket. So it will be 1 into 1, 1 plus 1 plus or minus 1 into delta b by b is b by b. Then delta a, this 1, well, plus or minus delta a by a. And then this is plus or minus delta a, delta b. Right, it's just multiplication. Right, now guys, this term is very small. I'm going to neglect it. See, delta a by delta a, so delta a by a is already a small value. I'm multiplying with another small value, so it will be a very, very small value, so I'm neglecting it. So this RHS becomes 1 plus or minus delta b by b plus or minus delta a by a. Now what was in the LHS side? It was 1 plus delta z by z. I'm cancelling out 1 here. So you get a formula like this, delta z by z, or there is a plus or minus here. Plus or minus is equal to delta b by b plus or minus delta a by a. Or I can infer that delta z by z is equal to delta a by a plus delta b by b. What do you say about the equation? This is the same equation which you get during the product rule also, right? That means when you multiply two numbers or you divide two numbers, your true value you can just, or measured value you just divide, right? To or multiply as per the question. But the errors, relative error, right? The error is found by finding the relative error. So the relative error during the product or division is equal to sum of the relative error of the factors, either in the case of multiplication or division. This much is clear, guys. I will go through the section. The entire steps I am not going to repeat. I wanted to make this section clear because most of the guys will be having doubt in this binomial section. After this step, guys, denominator I am going to bring it up. So it becomes 1 plus or minus delta b raised to minus 1. So it is just like a binomial equation, which is 1 plus x raised to n, where x is delta b by b and n is minus 1. Now the expression for 1 plus x raised to n binomial theorem is 1 plus nx divided by 1 factorial and goes on like this. Now here, since n is 1, right, minus 1, so I will stop with the first term, that is 1 plus nx by 1 factorial. First term is 1, but after 1, the first term, that is nx by 1 factorial. In place of n, it is minus 1, and in place of x, it is delta b by b. Now what is factorial? N factorial value is 1 into 2 into 3 into goes on till n. If you are asked what is 5 factorial, it is 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. You will get it as this one is 20 and this is 6. So the answer will be 120. Right? So this is how you find the factorial section. This much clear? This is something which you will learn in maths. It's okay if you didn't understand this factorial section. Right? Now, so 1 factorial will be 1. That is the first. 1 factorial becomes the first term. Right? So here I'm going to substitute the values 1. Right? Plus or minus means that is a equation, or that is sign written over here. It is plus or minus. Nx. N here is minus 1. What is x here? It is delta b by b. Now I am multiplying this minus to this positive value, it becomes minus. Minus value when multiplied with this negative value, it becomes plus. So minus plus, it just reverse, right? But it's okay. Minus plus, you are writing above and below, it makes the same sense. So it becomes plus minus delta b by b. Then we are going on with the expression. Right? I'm explaining this part because it is not mentioned in your NCERT book. So it is very difficult. They just give you a small idea about binomial theorem. Clear? So during multiplication and division, relative errors are added. Right? Sum of relative errors of the factors is equal to sum relative error of the quotient or the product. Clear? Let's do a small problem, guys. The question is, we are given displacement value this much meter. Similarly, time is given as this much second. So what is the value of velocity with the respective the error? That is, both measured value should be given in terms of true value and its error. Right? So this is your what? Your true value. Right? So I'll write this as S. Right? This is your measured value. So SM and TM. I'm replacing so that we can understand it. This is your delta S. Right, this is your T and this is your delta T. Let's say make it a small t. Right, so this is S plus or minus delta S. This is T plus or minus delta T. Clear? You are asked, that is Vm, that is equal to true value V plus or minus delta V. Right, now we know what is V. Let's say this was Z, right? This was our A and this was your B, right? So you just have asked velocity. So velocity is distance by time. So Z is equal to A by B. I hope this much is clear, right? So Z is A by B. Velocity is displacement by time. So we are writing Z and AB just for you guys to understand, to relate with the previous derivation section. Clear? So you found the true value of velocity, which is 200 by 20, that is 10 meter per second. So this much portion of V is 10. Right, now the pending section is just delta V, right? That means you have to find the absolute error of it. So during division, what was the rule here, right? Delta Z by Z, that is the relative error of the quotient. That is the relative error of the quotient. This delta, this is the quotient, so delta V by V is equal to sum of the relative errors of its factors. So this is S, so delta S by S plus delta T by T. This is as per the rule which we derived now. So what is delta V by V? Delta V I don't know, but V's value I have just found as 10. What is delta S? It is 5 divided by 200 plus delta T is 0.2 divided by 20. Right, the other values you have got, you just have to find delta V. This calculation please try to do by yourself guys. You will get delta V as around 0.35. Right, now the end result is you are supposed to write Vm, right? So Vm, that is a measured value, is V, that is 10 plus or minus 0.35 meter per second. That is your answer. Clear? It's just like that of your product rule. I hope you understood. Right, if you are asked to write it in percentage, what would you do? You just have to what? Convert this into that. Suppose your actually percentage order of Vm will be delta V by V into 100, right? This is V, this is delta V. So how would you write it as? 0.35 divided by 10 into 100. So it will be 3.5 percentage. Okay, this is a percentage error equation. Clear? Right. Now let's move on to the next section guys, that is exponential powers. Now suppose you have exponential powers etc. I hope you understand what it is. If z, that is the result, is equal to a squared, see, exponential function, like that equations comes up. So this is true value, so z is equal to a squared, so measured value zm should be equal to am squared. Right, now I'm going to replace guys here z plus or minus delta z. I'm not going to write this entire thing, I have taken it. And a is written as a plus or minus delta a whole square. Now this is a plus b whole square section, right? But the problem is along with plus there is minus also. So what can I do? I'll split it like this: a plus or minus delta a into a plus or minus delta a. Right, now we'll elaborate or expand this factors of the brackets. It will be equal to a squared plus or minus a into delta a plus or minus delta a into a plus delta a squared. Now out of this delta a squared is very small value, so it can be neglected. Right, so it becomes what? Here what was in LHS, it was z plus delta z, right? So this z is a squared actually, right? A squared plus delta z plus or minus. Here also there is an a squared plus or minus a delta a plus or minus a delta a, right? A delta a. Now this a squared and this a squared can be cancelled out. So plus or minus delta z is equal to, this is 2, both of them are the same term, right? So it is plus or minus 2a delta a. Or I can write it as delta z is equal to 2a delta a. Right, now I'm going to rearrange it guys by dividing by z, because this is where the step is changing. Right, so it becomes delta z by z is equal to 2a delta a divided by z. Now what is z? Previously I have written as a squared, so it becomes 2a delta a divided by a squared. I can cut one a, so it becomes 2 delta a by a. Now see, what is the end result? Delta z by z. That is, this answer's relative error is equal to twice the relative error of the base. This is its exponent, this is its base, twice. So this one 2. So if it had been, the question had been z is equal to a cube, so delta z by z will be equal to, in place of 2 it will be 3 delta a by a. Clear? If it had been 4, it will be delta z by z is equal to 4 into delta a by a. See, that means whatever the power is, that becomes the coefficient of the relative error. Right? That means in general form, if z is equal to a raised to n then delta z by z. The relative error of this answer will be equal to n into delta A by A. That is the general form. Clear? It's very easy if you do a problem along with it, guys. So straight away I'm going to jump to the problem, so you will understand it very easily. First, let's do a very simple question. If you are having a question like this, okay, k is equal to a cube b squared d raised to 1 by 2, right? And A is having a percentage error of 2%, B is having a percentage of 3%, and D is having a percentage error of 2%. After this, I will give you a general formula for it also. How would you do it? We just told that means delta K by K. That is the results, right? Error. You are asked what is the error percentage error of K. Okay, I didn't write the question. Right, so delta K by K is its percentage, it's relative error, right? So I'm going to use this formula, right? Then A cube, right? Here A cube, so it becomes 3 into delta A by A, right? So similarly it will be 3 into delta A by A. Okay, listen properly, guys. Then it is B squared, right? So 2 will come here, becomes 2 into delta B by B. Clear? Now the problem is denominator, right? So understand, you did the division part, right? Previously we did the division part. What we did, we do relative errors are added, right? Not multiplied. So here also the coefficient, even if it goes up, it is minus 1 by 2. You don't put minus 1 by 2 here. You are supposed to write plus 1 by 2 into delta D by D. Never in any relative error section there is a minus factor, guys. All are in addition forms. Clear? Right. So now you are asked in percentage error. So what should I do? You have to multiply with 100 over here every term. Right. So what is delta A by A into 100? That is the percentage error of A. That is 2. So it is 3 into 2%. So this is 2 into delta B by B is what? Delta B by B is percentage error is 3%. Similarly, half into what is delta D is, or D is percentage error? 2%. So you will get 6 plus 6, that is 12. 12 plus 1, that is 13% is the error of calculation of K. Clear? So I'm going to give you a general formula. If let's say Z is equal to A raised to N or A raised to P, let's say A raised to P, B raised to Q and C raised to R, right? Then delta Z by Z is equal to P into, that is exponential becomes coefficient, into delta A by A plus Q into delta B by B plus, right, even if it is in the denominator, R into delta C by C. Clear? It's very easy question, guys. And even in 2019 NEET examination, a question was asked just like this one. The numbers were given just like this one. Okay, let's do some more problems. Now the question is, see, R1 resistance is given as 5 plus or minus 0.2 ohm, and R2 is given as 10 plus or minus 0.1 ohm. Right, and you're asked what is R equivalent when R1 is parallel to R2. Right, so I hope you remember what is R equivalent when two resistors are parallel, 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. Right, or I can write R equivalent is equal to R1, R2 divided by R1 plus R2. This is something which you have learned earlier. Right, so how would I solve this problem here, guys? R1 into R2 means there is a product rule has to be applied. And there is a denominator side also, that means divide rule also have to be applied. No, it is very easy. If you consider R1 as one term, R2 as one term, and R1 plus R2 whole as a third term, that is C, X is equal to, let's say, is A, B by C, right? So here A is R1, B is R2 and C is R1 plus R2. So how would you find the relative error of X? Delta X by X, just like the previous one, this one. A, there is no coefficient, right? So delta A by A plus delta B by B plus delta C by C, right? Now I'm going to replace the values here, guys. So delta X by X here becomes R equivalent is X, right? So delta R equivalent by R equivalent, right? Replace the terms here. And A, I just told you, is R1. So it is delta R1 by R1 plus, what is delta B by B? That is R2's term, delta R2 divided by R2. What is delta C? It is R1 plus R2, right? So delta R1 plus R2 whole divided by R1 plus R2. Now the problem comes. What is delta R1 plus R2? That is the error when it happens when two resistors are added. See, just listen. Error when two numbers are added. See what that means? R1 plus R2, right? Now I'm going to tell separately. What is R1 plus R2? These are two terms, right? So there is a true values. So I will just add the true values first of all. It will be 5 plus 10, that is 15. Then there should be error. So when you're adding two numbers, the errors will also be added just like it. So 0.2 plus 0.1 is 0.3. So this is your R1 plus R2. Right, so R1 plus R2's, this is R1 plus R2's true value and this is its error. So this is delta R1 plus R2, this term. Right, this much clear. So here when I substitute values, delta R1 is 0.2. So 0.2 divided by R1 is 5 plus, right, delta R2 by R2, that is 0.1 by 10, right, plus what is delta R1 plus R2? That is R1 plus R2's error, that is 0.3 divided by its true value, that is 15, right, that is the value of R equivalence, right. So delta R equivalent by R. Clear? This much is clear. So if you are asked in percentage error, so you have to multiply it throughout with 100. Clear? Now calculation you have to do by yourself, right? You will get a value of around 7%. Clear? It's very easy if you understood the logic of it, guys. Right? Now similarly I wanted to add something. Sometimes the question's error as it is might not be given. You will be given that there are two values, that is L1 is having this much value, L2 is having this much value, and it is measured by using a device which is having a least count of 0.01 centimeter. Right, you have not given error for the readings and then you will be asked what is the sum of these two values. So sum you will do it by just adding, but you have excluded the least count, right? So remember guys, least count is actually the absolute error of a measurement. Least count is the absolute error of the measurement. This section I will clarify during the live class. Why the least count is said to be, why least count is usually called as the absolute error. I will clarify during the live class. Okay. If I forget, guys, please make me remember it. Okay. Please listen to the entire section videos. I have taken a lot of topics today. Please take time. When I know I have taken it fast, stop the videos where you're having doubt and rewind it and listen to the entire section so that it will be thorough for you guys. Okay. Bye.